is up, everybody? It is the 9th of May, 2020. I'm your host, Justin, and you can see Perry's lovely frozen face over there, but we recorded a mock draft for you guys the other day, and it only picked up the last 5 minutes of his audio, so he will join us at the last 5 minutes of this, but you'll get to see him attempting to talk the entire episode. I'm just going to run you guys through these picks and talk through them as we made them. We drafted with a couple buddies of ours from one of our other leagues, just so it wouldn't be all bots this time. And this is actually our first draft since the NFL draft. So there's rookies involved in this draft, so it's definitely changed the ADP of a lot of these players, and I think it's exciting to see how it affects them and which players go up, which players go down, and then see how that changes as we get closer to the season, because it will change for sure. I think a great example of that is I think we're going to see Tua rise in drafts, a player that a lot of people were saying before, that he may not even play this season, and now it's slowly becoming more like the consensus thought is he will at some point this season step on the field, and I think we'll continue to see that, which will affect his draft value. Some of these running backs that we may anticipate them taking over a job, especially as we start getting reports out of these training camps. So it's important to see which way players are trending before your draft. So stuff like this helps you get that in your mind, like whether you should be taking a player, which direction he's trending, upwards or downwards. Obviously, you don't want to grab a player on his downward trend at a higher spot than reach for him, and then you regret it by the time the season starts. But yeah, so I will cover some news since Perry is not going to be able to. The biggest news there, not a lot of news has come out, but the biggest news that we got is Andy Dalton got a job. He got signed as the backup quarterback to Dak Prescott. So I think that's a great job for him. He could step in there and definitely take if they're in a playoff run, pull a Nick Foles, carry them through that playoffs. Though it being Andy Dalton, I don't know if I want him in the playoffs with his record. And that's basically all the news we got. I'm sure we'll cover some more next week. We'll have a bunch more, actually. But I also have some news no one cares about. I'll try to make this as decent as possible. Earl Thomas got busted by his wife at an Airbnb with his brother and multiple other women in the nude, and his wife pulled a gun on him, and someone called the police. She was arrested. All sorts of reports. Should not affect his on-field availability, but just some crazy news. And then I'm only one other piece of news no one cares about. I'm gonna go over. What's his name? Damian Williams got robbed at an Airbnb in LA. More Airbnb news. Apparently 3 men came with no weapon and robbed him. I don't understand how a pro athlete who was there with a group of friends was robbed by 3 men with no weapon. Just seems crazy to me. I think it may have been Clyde Edwards that came and took his job and his Airbnb. I just don't know. But there's 3 men, so it was a robbery by committee. But yeah, that's basically all the news that has happened. I guess I don't know which. I love me some Frank Gore, so I don't want to put this in the news no one cares about. But Frank Gore did get signed to the New York Jets. He's 30. I think he'll be 37 this year. And then his son is 3 years away from being eligible for the draft to come in. So we could see, if he makes another 3 years, a 40-year-old Frank Gore and Frank Gore Jr. in the NFL. That would just be insane. All right. So I'm going to get us into this draft and I'll go through our picks and then I'll let Perry come in for the final 5 minutes. I might. All right, we started off. No, the only surprise here to me, Saquon went number one, followed by CMC. CMC should always be number one in any draft you do. Our buddy Darian took Michael Thomas at 3. I think that's perfectly acceptable. I probably would go running back, but he wanted that number one wide receiver, so he went with that at this spot. Ezekiel Elliott went. Dalvin Cook. I'm huge on Dalvin Cook, as everyone knows. No, Perry doesn't quite agree with me, but I think he'd agree with this landing spot as the 5th pick for our buddy Joel. Alvin Kamara went next. I think this is like all perfectly normal. No big changes or shakeups here so far. And this is what you could expect to see in your league. And then Perry goes with Devontae Adams as the number 2 wide receiver. I love that pick. I think that is the second best wide receiver in the NFL for fantasy football purposes. DeAndre Hopkins goes next. Tyreek Hill. A lot of people have Hill ranked higher. The problem with Hill is he's one of those boomer bust players, so he might win you huge one week, but he also might lose you a week. I went Joe Mixon, great pass catching running back. I love him this year. I've seen some people talking about they don't think that he's going to be that great. He leads the league in forced missed tackles. They improved their offensive line, improved their quarterback. They brought more wide receivers in there. That's going to help. Everything about his situation has improved. He did just fine last year, so I expect him to take another sizable step forward. And then it came back around to me. I was distracted talking, looking at Josh Jacobs, and I failed to make the pick before it went out, so it auto-drafted Mike Evans for me. I was super upset about that. And Perry ends up taking Josh Jacobs because he's a great bell cow running back who was at his rock bottom for his pass catching last season. So you're going to see huge strides with him this year. Even if he were to just get 3 or 4 more targets a game, that's going to be huge for your season. Any sort of PPR, he's going to be an RB1 for sure. And you're going to get him around this value, which is RB2 value. So that's great. Miles Sanders or George Kittle went as the first tight end. I found that kind of surprising, especially this early in the 2nd round. I don't like tight ends till the 3rd round personally. Our buddy Joel took Miles Sanders. Great pick. Odell Beckham went after that. He should bounce back this year. I like him. Austin Eckler went to Darian. Another great pass catching running back. It comes back around. Darian took Aaron Jones. He's a huge Green Bay fan, but this is a good pick for your if it's your 3rd running back, in my opinion. I think you'll see some touchdown regression. This is 2nd running back, so I wouldn't be comfortable with that, but I understand a lot of people do love him. And then Joel took Travis Kelce as the 2nd tight end in the 3rd round. That's great. Middle of 3rd round. I love that value. Perry took DeAndre Swift, running back in Detroit, rookie running back. This is one of those rookies we were talking about. He has a great situation. Kerryon has proved to not be able to stay healthy and do what we all had hoped. So, yeah, I think that's great. It comes over to me, and again, I failed to make my pick. 2 picks in a row. I'm horrible. I ended up getting Leonard Fournette with the auto draft. Sure, sounds great. He's a bell cow running back. I'm just not sold on him this year. I wouldn't have taken him there. It goes around. Patrick Mahomes comes off as the first quarterback. I love that. He has to be your first quarterback, and at the very tail end of the 3rd round, I'm cool with that. I prefer to grab him in the 4th round if possible, but he could have if he picked Calvin Ridley first, so that's fine. Lamar Jackson as the 2nd quarterback. those two are back to back to me. So like, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes over him, but I like that. I actually picked someone for once here, and I took Kenyon Drake. I like that pick. He had a great end of the season. I think we can expect to see him have similar production going forward. Maybe a tiny bit less, but similar. They didn't bring anyone to take that job. That's great news for him. Perry takes Melvin Gordon, obviously moved to Denver. Me and Perry both like him quite a bit this year, though. He's again, he's an all-around back. He can run up the middle. He can catch the ball. His production is going to be there. That's a you're not going to regret having him if you can get him in a spot like here. Just great pick, I think. Joel takes DK. I love DK and Debo. Both of them are like two of my guys this year. Two second-year wide receivers that are just going to blow up. I love a lot of these second-year wide receivers, I should say. DJ Chark comes off with Darian, followed by Devin Singletary once it comes back around. I like the Singletary. I'm not as sold as Chark. I think the quarterback situation there is going to be sketchy, and that's going to hurt the wide receiver core. You don't know who you're going to get. And speaking of, Joel takes Debo Samuels right there. So he gets DK and Debo. Like I love Joel's team. Like these first 5 picks are just fantastic to me. I probably would have taken a different running back at number 2, but I'm completely fine with the Miles Sanders. That's just a great pick. Perry gets Lev Bell. They got Frank Gore there now, but I see that as a depth play. I think that's great for Lev Bell. It means they're not bringing someone else in. So I really like that. It comes to me back to me. Mark Andrews goes off the board as the 3rd tight end. This is where you start seeing him go off the board. I'm not willing to take this reach on him or any of these other guys. And then I auto-picked Zach Ertz, which was, again, super upsetting. I was trying to grab a wide receiver there. Comes back around to me. And the auto picks, I'm okay with it because it's a mock draft. It's fine. So, you get to see where these players are going. It doesn't hurt you that much. This stuff is more for knowledge than for anything. I took Adam Thielen as my next wide receiver here. It started to get a little scarce here. I was trying to grab Lockett, which went right after Zach Ertz. Adam Thielen's the number 1 wide receiver now in Minnesota, though. They did bring in a rookie wide receiver that I think is going to help him because he's going to be playing the outside a lot more, opening up routes for Thielen, similar to how Diggs used to. So I think he's actually going to be okay. He came up on my rankings after the draft for them. Justin Jefferson goes there. That's the wide receiver I was talking about in Minnesota that they signed that's going to actually help his value. Perry took Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup I loved. I brought him down a little bit on my rankings after the draft with CD Lamb going there because now it's just a crowded wide receiver core there for me. But I do think he will lead them in fantasy production. So Joel takes Chris Carson. If healthy, that's a fantastic pick. I worry about it with the rumors that they're trying to sign Marshawn Lynch. So that worries me about Chris Carson's health. Darian went with Hollywood Brown. He's a huge boomer bust player, but it's also his 3rd wide receiver. I'm fine with that. That's where you want to start taking risk. So I love that. Comes back around. Darian takes Darren Waller. That's a good pick for a tight end. He waited for a while. He's getting that value. Darren Waller had a great season last year, and he should continue this year having a good season. It's going to be less than last year, but Darian didn't pick him as if he is a top 5 tight end, so that's great for him. Joel auto picked Russell Wilson here. I talked to him afterwards about this, and he was a little bit upset with it, but he's a Seahawks fan too, and he got Russell Wilson here, so not that bad. Not that it could have been a lot worse. And I like it. That's a good quarterback, or a great quarterback that you're getting as the 6th, 7th quarterback. So that's completely fine. Perry finally goes tight end, grabs Noah Fant. Great pick. Like, me and Perry have been preaching some Noah Fant lately. He, I think that Denver's gonna have a hugely improved offense off the back of an improved quarterback on his second year of playing. Noah Fant's second year of playing, I expect some improvement from him, so that should be great. I took a little risk here because I felt like I'd messed up a little bit earlier in the draft, so I took David Johnson, got the big injury risk, but he's in Houston, great situation, so I'm taking that risk, and then I followed it up with some more with a rookie, Keyshawn Vaughn. Double up on that. I just got to hit on one of these. So you got the rookie running back there with Tom Brady. We don't really have faith in Rojo. There's a lot of hype around Rojo starting to build until this draft pick came, and now all that hype has died. I think you could get Rojo for a super discount now because of that. But that's like Keyshawn. I'm loving that. Perry took Philip Lindsay to secure his Melvin Gordon pick. That's a great handcuff. A completely viable running back on his own, by his own right. And then if Ingram goes down, Melvin Gordon goes down, then Philip Lindsay can just step into that role. Joel takes Brandon Cooks. I like that as well. He's going to be a number one wide receiver there. And right before Joel, T.Y. Hilton goes, go get you some T.Y. Hilton this season. Please do yourself a favor. Do me a favor. I love T.Y. this year. Darian took Mark Ingram, followed by Matt Ryan. Perry loves him some Matt Ryan. I feel like that pick from Darian was just out of spite towards Perry, just to take a shot at him. And then we come back around. Joel takes Mecole Hardman. This is what I'm talking about. Like, Joel's got his two solid wide receivers. Now he's taking these shots on these big play ability wide receivers. He takes Brandon Cooks, Mecole Hardman. Those dudes are big play receivers that Joel can afford to take that risk now. So, like, that's great. I like to see that. Perry grabs Aaron Rodgers. This late is crazy. Joe Burrow, actually the next quarterback to go off the board, which is insane to me. I continued with my risk here and took Sony Michel. I'm not sold on him, but they didn't draft another running back, which tells, like, in a high round, which tells me that they still believe in him. So it may be a volume play. And as I was talking about, how Chris Carson may not be healthy. Rashad Penny also got injured at the end last season and also may not be healthy. But at this point in the draft, I'm okay with grabbing him and taking that risk because it's not as huge of a loss if you miss on it. But if it pays off and Carson's not healthy but Penny is, that's huge. Perry takes Darius Slayton. I love that. He's going to be the number one wide receiver in New York. I don't expect a huge offensive production out of New York, but having the number one wide receiver on basically any team is great. And so I think that getting him this late, a number one wide receiver, that's fantastic. Joel takes Tyreek Cohen. That's not a pick I love because I expect Montgomery to get more work. To me, this was Joel's worst pick, and I love Joel's team here. Like, his team is my favorite team thus far in the draft. Darian takes A.J. Dillon. I hate that pick. I'm sorry, Darian. I don't like it. He's going to be a backup running back in Green Bay. Maybe if this was a dynasty, I'd like it more. It goes around. Then he takes James White in New England. That one, I would have rather had James White than A.J. Dillon. James White is the clear pass catching back. He could outscore Sony Michel, who I got in PPR. So that's completely, like, I like that pick. It's a risk, but at this late, a lot of these players are. Perry takes D.D. Westbrook. See, this why I like that there, because where Chark is going, I was talking about how the quarterback situation is ever changing there. And it's like a constant battle of who's going to be their quarterback. Like, I don't know if they've even figured that out, even with Foles leaving. So, you could see DD become the number one wide receiver there. So I like that pick. It comes to me, I take Julian Edelman. As I said, he could be the number one wide receiver in New England. So I like that, obviously, because I took him there. But this late, getting a number one wide receiver is clutch. Comes back around, I take Robbie Anderson. He's got that big playability. He's at a new home in Carolina, but they have a new head coach. I actually expect him to have a pretty decent season. He's not going to be the number one wide receiver there, but I think they're going to have more offense than a lot of people expect, not just out of CMC. So I think that Robbie Anderson could be a week-to-week startable player, depending on who they're starting or who they're playing. Comes Perry. He takes Emmanuel Sanders. I thought I was too high on Emmanuel Sanders, so I really like that he took him here. Made me feel a little more comfortable with my rankings. He's the number 2 wide receiver in New Orleans that's going to have a ton of air yards. So I absolutely love that pick. And I think that's a great pick. He could be a guy who wins you your season, or wins you your season at this late in the draft for the value you get from him. It comes back around, or I'm gonna go through. Joel takes Sterling Shepard. I'm not sold on Sterling Shepard. I fell out on I lost faith in him last year, or really the year before. I'm gonna skip a couple of these to come back around to Joel here, who took Jordan Howard, so I could catch up on everything. Jordan Howard, I like this. He's gonna get a lot of work in Miami, and I do think especially goal line work. So he could get you some touchdowns and could be a solid flex. I actually really like that pick. Jimmy G comes off the board. Latavius Murray. Only get Latavius Murray as a handcuff. Don't. He doesn't have independent value. We learned that last season. I take Drew Brees as my quarterback. I've been preaching this and preaching this and preaching this. He was the number 3 quarterback once he came back from injury, only behind Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. So go ahead and grab you some. My next pick, I take Mohamed Sanu. I'm just trying to find that who's going to be that number 1 wide receiver in New England. I got Julian Edelman, Mohamed Sanu. I'll drop one of them at some point in this season, whichever one doesn't emerge as the number 1 wide receiver there. Perry takes Raquel Armstead from Jacksonville. He could, Jacksonville, he could emerge as the running back there, the number 1 running back. He's got some work ahead of him. I'm not my favorite pick. I would have rather taken a shot on some of these other guys. A lot of the later running backs, that's why I prefer to go early running back. But the later running backs are it's real rough. And now we start seeing some defenses really going off the board. Darian took his defense. He also took Damian Harris from New England. So that's another. He took 2 New England running backs. I guess he's trying a similar approach that I did with the wide receivers. Kirk Cousins comes off the board. Seattle's defense. Some pair of kickers come off. Perry takes the Vikings defense. It comes back to me, and as you can see, I am not looking at a defense or kicker because I think that's ridiculous, and you should just fill up your bench and worry about that closer to the start of the season. I took Chase Edmonds running back, I got Kenyon Drake already, so he's basically my handcuff to Drake. And then it comes back around to me again, just kickers and defenses coming off the board. This is why I don't draft those, because now I can get some hidden value here late in the draft. And then I take Jason Meyer. I did not take Jason Meyer. Sorry, I took Antonio Gibson, running back for Washington. I think he has a chance to break out there. He's in a good situation. Guys can't stay healthy. AP is 200 years old, I believe, this season. So there's a good shot that he could be a starting running back this season at some point. And then Perry takes Justin Jackson. They did draft a running back, which hurts his fantasy value, probably why he's fallen to here. But that's a player that both of us believe in his talent, and like I do believe he's their second running back, and he should do just fine this season. He'll become a household name this season. Boston Scott, I love that pick from Darian. I think he's going to blow up this season and look a lot better. And we got about another minute before Perry's audio finally kicks in. So I'm excited for that. You guys will finally get to hear Perry's fantastic voice, and we'll close out the show with him. So that'll be fantastic. We're going to do a few more of these too. I'm going to try and get some more get some of our listeners into these when we do them too. And I'm going to change the time for the draft picks so that way you won't see quite so many auto drafts from me. I apologize for that. Well, I'm going to go ahead and unmute this. I think Perry's audio starts in about 10 seconds from now. So I'm going to unmute it, and then we'll see how we close this out. Well, not quite audio from Perry. Yeah.
Because he's so consistent, and having that consistency as your third running back is great. I don't think there's anything to worry about there. Gets Russell Wilson. I don't know if he intended to draft him, but I actually like it for the team. I think it's totally fine. He's got the stack with DK Metcalf. I guess his depth at running back after Chris Carson worries me a little bit. I do like Jordan Howard, but the problem with Tariq Cohen and Alexander Madison is their work isn't really guaranteed yet, but they could be. Granted, he doesn't really need them at the moment, but in the event that he does need them, he could find that there's a little bit of anemic production out of those two. Darian also went wide receiver early, took the first wide receiver off the board with Michael Thomas. I think Michael Thomas is worthy of that pick. I just don't know if I would love my team construction, but it turned out pretty well with the next two picks in Austin Eckler and Aaron Jones.
Definitely.
But DJ Chark being your number 2 wide receiver scares me.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are really in on him. I'm not as big on him as a lot of other people this year. I just have him a little bit lower than that.
Yeah, looking at who went just after him, Jarvis Landry, Terry McLaurin, Tyler Boyd. Would you rather have
Debo.
one of those? Or Debo?
Yeah, I'd rather have Debo.
Debo than Chark?
Yeah.
I think I agree. I think I'd rather have Debo than Chark. Devin Singletary is his third running back. I think that's great. I really like Devin Singletary. I think that team is only going to get better, and I think that team is kind of the sleeper of the NFL right now, in my opinion. I think people are a little they're sleeping on Buffalo. So Darren Waller going in the 7th round is his tight end. I think that's great. Mark Ingram scares me, but it's his 4th running back, so that's fine. Yeah, I think my team turned out great depth-wise. Little scary up at the top, though. Right now I'm relying on DeAndre Swift. So, as a rookie running back. So hopefully that works out.
Yeah, and I mean, man, I love I think the important thing with these is like you need to do them before you do an actual draft, because like I said, I didn't like how my team ended up turning out at the end of this. I'm like, man, I would have did a lot of things different here. So,
Yeah.
and I learned where a lot of these players have fallen now that the rookies are involved in there, and we know which rookies are on which team. So it's obviously affected values of players.
Yeah.
And so you do a couple of these and you start feeling a lot better about your draft at the end of it.
Yeah. I think Justin and I will probably be doing one of these every few weeks. Kind of whenever we feel like, hey, some stuff has shifted around. Let's do another mock draft. I think they're a fun episode for you and I to do, Justin. They're an easier episode. I know that you guys don't care about that, but they're a little easier. We don't have to come up with something to do, which is nice. But it's also really informative for you and us. So I really like doing these mock drafts.
Yeah, and I mean we've gotten good feedback from them, so that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So are you ready to announce the giveaway, or are we going to do that on Twitter?
I'll announce it on the next show just so I can have it ready. I did not like go through and pick one right now or yet today, so
Okay.
it is the morning of the first. So
No, I mean the winner of the previous giveaway.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like I haven't gone
I
through and done the randomizer and figured out who it is yet.
Right on.
But I will have that later today. Well, by the time this is out, I'll know who it is. So
Perfect. Well, congrats to whoever wins that. And please subscribe. Please comment. Please give us a like or a dislike if you truly dislike this episode. Please do that, and then leave a comment as why. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually really weird when people give us a dislike and then there's no. I like. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's not weird, but I want to know why. I want to wait. I want to get better. Tell me.
No, so I mean the ones that happen, I completely understand why. There's certain platforms where people want to control which podcasts are on there because they dislike it the second I put it on that platform without like obviously they didn't watch it because it happens within like 2 minutes.
Oh,
they didn't make it through the intro.
Oh,
and it's a good intro.
It is a good intro. I like the new intro. It's very like I'm ready for like a sitcom.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Cool. That's what I was going for.
All right. Right on. Again, please like, comment, subscribe. Check out the link down below for our merch. That helps us. That supports us, and we love your support. Thank you.